Good afternoon and welcome back. This is US Home Talk, and we are live every Wednesday at noon and on demand at ushometalk.com or anywhere and everywhere you find your podcasts. I'm your host, Marcus Walgrave of South Dakota Home Team, powered by Hague Realtors. Joined with me here today, co-host Jason Walgrave of Walgrave Real Estate Group in the Minnesota real estate team at RE/MAX Advantage Plus, and Mike Overson with Luminate Home Loans. Also here joining us is Evan Little. We will be taking all of your questions during today's show, anything and everything real estate. The call-in number is 612-234-7585. Again, that's 612-234-7585. You can leave us a message in the comments section on Facebook. And we'll also be answering questions that were emailed to us here in the previous days and questions that we received on our real estate hotline throughout the week as well. Good morning, gentlemen. Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Good. Doing good. Besides, it's still being really cold up here and below freezing every single night.
Yeah, it is cold. It's kind of brutally cold. For the end of March, it's kind of a tease right now.
Right. Jason's looks like Jason's on the old dial-up internet, it looks like there. He's frozen.
He free froze.
Yeah, that was happening earlier too, and we tried to tell him that his internet was bad, and well,
maybe it's the weather. Maybe it's so cold in the office his internet froze.
So for those people that don't live up in the Midwest, if you're listening to us, so we're up here. Jason and I are up here in Savage, Minnesota. So it's just 20 minutes south of Minneapolis. I live on a small lake in a suburb just south of Minneapolis called Burnsville. So I was out there on Sunday, right? So Sunday, that was March 26th. 2 years ago, on March 27th, 2 years ago, the pontoon was on the lake already, and we were in it cruising around. This year, we still have 20 inches of ice. We still have 20 inches of ice on the lake this year on the same date. So it's probably going to be a month later. So 2 years ago, hit the pontoon on March 27th. This year, it's probably going to be April 27th before we get it out there. That's how cold it's been.
It's pretty crazy. So cold, and then Facebook memory pull up yesterday, and it was the boys jumping in the pool. And so we had a year ago, we'd opened the pool. There was, obviously no ice, no snow, nothing. They were jumping in, doing their annual Walgrave pool polar plunge. And it's going to be, I don't know, man. I think the lake, it could be May 1st. So
could be this year. Crazy.
Well, I do like to get out and do some ice fishing. Fishing is one of my hobbies, and I called up to one of the bait shops up north. I'm living in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we're obviously 3 hours, about 2 hours south of you guys. 3 hours if you're southwest. But the weather's very similar. Definitely windier in Sioux Falls. We don't have the rolling hills and trees like you guys have up there in the central Minnesota area. But one of the bait shops, he's owned bait shop for several decades, and that's what he's saying. He's saying that we're going to be ice fishing for at least another 30 days. So it's not exactly what you want to hear. It's like, well, kind of like those previous years, where we were out there on lakes enjoying it, fishing or pontooning, boating, whatever it might be. Maybe even getting a early spring sunburn, but not the case this year.
Not this year, nope. Not even close. We're not even supposed to hit. If we look at the next 10-day forecast, we're supposed to hit 50 once. That's it. Which is crazy. Usually we're having 50-degree days just day after day after day this time of year. We're going to hit a 50-degree day once. We're going to be in the 30s and 40s the whole time. So,
yeah, we're going to get some additional 50s down here in the Sioux Falls area.
What was that, Jason?
He froze up again.
You got some internet service today. So
yeah,
it's like you're on your cell phone hotspot or something, Jay.
No, he's on that Laverne dial-up.
that forecast, guys, I mean, it's, there's definitely the April showers, right? April showers bring spring flowers is the old saying. And April is just days away. And unfortunately, when I looked at the 14-day forecast and in Sioux Falls, we are seeing more, rain and 40s and some 50s or high 30s. We're kind of staying away from that below 32. It gets below 32 at night. So, there's a couple days there where we might get a flurry throughout the night. But again, just a couple hours north. And I mean, I don't know if this front is what you guys are going to be seeing, but it's like in 7 to 10 days, we're supposed to get some moisture in the Midwest. But if you're 2 hours north, they're talking like 12 to 14 inches of snow in like 7 to 10 days from now. It's like, that's gross. No April Fool's joke there. That's just rude and mean and not the very pleasant beginning of your April.
Yeah, we're supposed to get that
So
too,
they're
even
saying-
just Thursday.
Thursday. They're saying historically in Minnesota, the longest we've had to wait for 50-degree day is March 30th. And so what's today, the 29th? Yeah, there's no way we're going to hit 50 by March 30th this year. So new record, baby.
It's breaking records.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, if you just go 2 hours south, right? I mean, I think just from the Twin Cities going south to, where Sioux Falls is located, and we've probably had maybe 6 to 8 days in the 50s already this year. And then furthermore, I mean, if you kind of go down to like Des Moines, Iowa, right? That's maybe another hour and a half, further south than what Sioux Falls is located. And you get into that area and they always get a lot more nicer days a lot sooner. And so it's those that cold Canadian air can definitely linger when you're in that Twin Cities and north area.
Yeah, it's the Canadians' fault.
Yeah, blame the Canadians. Well, we're gonna have a great show today, guys. The topic is why hasn't my home sold? And we're gonna try to cover some hot points there and help anybody out there who's got their house on the market, and shed some light on maybe why your home hasn't sold. One thing that comes up all the time. And I got my license at the first of 2014, and so this is going to be my 10th year as a full-time realtor, and I kind of was on maybe like the tail end of professional photography. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still see it to this day where you'll have a listing agent who went through there with their 20-year-old Canon camera, and or maybe their 15-year-old flip phone, and they're taking pictures, with that bad boy and using those pictures online. But it's just so crucial to have exceptional quality photos online. I mean, the stats are right now, studies have been done by NAR, the National Association of Realtors, where it's like 98% plus of all buyers are going to start their home search online. And as with anything, I mean, you're going to put in a home search criteria. Okay, I need beds, baths, garage stall, maybe location, maybe city and or school district, whatever that might be. And then that's going to populate, right? It's going to give you this list. Hopefully it's a long list. But in some cases, it's not very long, especially here in the last several months. And when they come up, we all do it. You go through the list and you kind of go through it quickly and you pick out the ones that have really nice, attractive curb appeal. The ones that have really, sharp pictures. And if you're not having that done as a seller, it's like, holy buckets, you are, you're behind the 8 ball and you need to improve those photos.
I always compare it
100%.
to I always compare that to like your Tinder, right? I compare it to Tinder. Do you want someone to swipe right or swipe left? Right? You get a few seconds to capture their attention, right? And the house is the profile picture, right? So they're flipping through there, right? And boom, there's your house. Okay. That picture is going to have them swipe right or swipe left. And literally just in a few seconds, you're either going to capture the interest of that buyer and they're going to dig in more, or they're going to swipe left and get rid of you and move on to the next one. They're never going to see your house again.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And we, we advise our sellers, what to do and how to prepare their house for photos, and I mean, I think we have a pretty thorough to-do list, and, it talks about things like the kitchen to remove everything from the counters, and a listing a few weeks ago, pretty good job, but they left a 24 pack of water on top of the fridge, still in the plastic wrap, and it just kind of hanging over the top of the fridge. And I looked at the photo and I'm like, man, that's the only thing I see is that 12 pack or that case of water up there. So we have a company that we work with that remove stuff like that all the time. So, if they left a garbage can on the side of the house, or even if, there's a car in the driveway, there was someone there unexpectedly. And so we'll remove objects all the time from the photos before we go live on the MLS, because it's first impression. So you don't be distracted by some personal things or whatever it is, or, Overson talks about the squirrel and the plant in the corner, I mean, you want to take that out of there and make sure that's not in the marketing photos. Cause you get one shot at a first impression. Those photos need to be professionally done. They need to be high definition. If you need to, touch them up by removing something around the cover, others took that out of the photo, but let's make sure we get that put away for the showings. And you're right, Marcus. I am at awe in today's world at photos that are used for purposes. Things like agents will put a room on the MLS, and clearly the room hasn't been cleaned in 37 years, and it's so at the very least, don't include that photo. Present it its best and take some time to advise your sellers, and if you need to, then do some photo editing to take things out, and at first impression. And I didn't realize this was 98%, Marcus. That's up. I think 4 or 5 years ago it was close to 90%. We're talking about near 100% of today's buyers are going online first to do their research to find their properties, and they call their agent or the listing agent. Absolutely critical. Make sure your agent is spending the money to have the best photos that the market offers, and use those for your marketing plan.
And there's little, tricks to the trade as always. I mean, again, I'm not a professional photographer. I mean, I do have a newer smartphone, and the technology in today's smartphones are just incredible. I mean, the quality of photo that you can take with today's smartphone is definitely exceptional. But a professional photographer is going to have all the extra gadgets, to where they can stabilize a picture, or maybe have like a flash gun, to lighten up a room instead of having to go back and try to like Photoshop it to be brighter, because it always looks a little funny when that when people are doing like filters and things of that nature. But if they have those extra tools and gadgets, they're going to be able to get the highest quality picture available, and also. For professional photographers, they understand, symmetry and point of focus, and they know how to capture a room to where it is most appealing for buyers out there. And there are professional photographers that specialize in real estate, and those individuals definitely know how to take a better picture than like maybe somebody who specializes in weddings. It's a completely different environment for the photographer, and you can see the difference. So it's like, if a seller reached out to me down here in my market, I have 2 professional real estate photographers that we use, that myself and my team use to take the pictures of that home, exterior and interior. And it's huge. I mean, you're talking about an opportunity to make thousands of dollars more money simply for that fact that, to your point again, Mike, where they're going to see that picture. And if it's grainy, or a cloudy photo, they can't really even see it. And the thing that comes to their mind is like, okay, this person's not even trying. I can't even see if it even looks good. Next. And they don't like, well, I'm going to go through some photos and, see if I can find a good picture out of here, and that be the determining factor on whether I want to go look at a house. And it's just not the fact. I mean, they're going to see that first picture. It's just like with any listing. I mean, you get, the one photo's up there, and you got to click that one photo to see the list of photos. And then Jason, kind of a point that you made as well, is, my MLS just went from, I think it was like 36 photos. Now it is maybe like 60 something or 80 or something like that. We were limited to 36 photos prior to, and we've had this conversation. You and I, Jason, have had this conversation in the past. If you can put 100 photos up, it doesn't mean you should put up 100 photos. You want to be strategic, and that's where you need to rely on your expert. And people just think, okay, well, the realtor hired a professional photographer, I'm going to hire a professional photographer, and it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. I mean, there is strategy to the quality of the photos, who you're hiring to take the photos, the order of the photos that they're presented in, and the number of photos to use. And it's so interesting to see on listings online, and you see it and you just chuckle and you're like, I don't know why that picture made the list, but it's not helping out.
Yeah. Well, it's not, and more is not better, right? So what is the main goal of the photos? To get them to come and look at your house, right? And so if you have too many photos, and it's photos of everything in the entire house, well, that may be a reason why they don't come and look at your house. So, and depending on the size of the house and the lot and all these different things will determine how many photos that you should use. But those photos are a tool to get interested buyers, to give their agent a call, or to give you a call as a listing agent and come and look at the house. You want to show the house. The more buyers that come through your house, the higher likelihood that you're going to get a higher offer. It's all about exposure, right? The more exposure, the more potential interested buyers, maybe multiple offers, higher price, so on and so forth. So agree, Marcus. I see every once in a while a listing will pull up and there's like 80 or 100 photos on there. And I'm going, man, there's no reason to even look at this house. I mean, it's too much information. So
the attention span, especially if you have maybe a stunning basement that just got renovated or remodeled, or maybe it was an unfinished basement and it just got done. And there's so many cool features to show on there, but you have the basement starting at picture number 60. Nobody's going to go to that far. They're going to go through it and they're like, okay, I've seen enough. I'm gonna, hopefully you at least got favorited. But maybe it didn't make the top 3 list that Mr. and Mrs. Buyer are super busy, and they only have a 2-hour window every evening, or 2 hours on Saturdays to go see homes. It's like, well, they missed your basement because it was buried on picture number 60, and it could have been the coolest basement out of all the houses that they've seen, but it's lost. And so, I mean, you have to be very strategic on that. And that's kind of where a lot of the value of real estate professionals and their services that they provide come to the table.
Yep. Agree.
I have another,
go ahead, Mike.
Thing as far as photos go, really, really pertaining to this time of year. And it's for the houses where they have beautiful landscaping, but you can't see it because it's covered with snow right now. Right? I actually just had this conversation yesterday with another real estate agent listing for $675. I actually know this house. It's actually only a few blocks away from our house. They did a lot of landscaping. They got a sport court in the back. They did a bunch of nice landscaping and things like that. Can't see any of it because it's underneath snow right now. So none of the outside pictures look good. And so one of my comments is that, do they have any summertime photos to showcase and highlight that backyard and everything they did with it? Because that's a huge selling point for that house. But anyone looking at it right now, either pictures right now or going to look at it right now, can't see it. So it's do you have great landscaping? Do you have a nice exterior house? Do you have anything extravagant like that? And then do you have summer photos that you can then include with your listing if you're listing, in the winter time of year?
Yeah, it's a great point, Mike. I mean, we talk to a lot of sellers in the summer and fall, the ones that are just thinking about maybe listing their home in, winter, spring, or, or a year or two out. And we'll say, hey, can we send our photographer out just to take exterior photos so that, so that we have them. And we've done that where it was 2-3 years before we actually went live on the market, but they went on the market in the winter or early spring. And, thank goodness we had summer photos, because there's some incredible landscaping and, and water features and all of these outdoor features that you want to share with your prospective buyers about what's it going to be like when the never ending snow melts. So super important. If you can get your hands on those are great.
And the thing is we don't want to discourage a seller out there who may have those features and did take photos in the fall or this past summer. There's definitely other approaches that we can take to market that. You can provide your realtor with a list of, okay, here is what we've all purchased, line itemized, and we can attach it to that MLS listing and let people know, like, hey, 20 grand was put into landscaping this past fall. Yes, we understand you can't see it, but here's a list of everything that was done, and the dollar amount that went to it. And that can at least, give people, if they can't see it, but know that they don't have to do it. That's still a big plus for buyers out there. So don't get discouraged like you have to wait until May or June to do this. If the time is right for you to list today, and you have these features and we don't have old photos, we still have great ideas and plans to maximize those amenities of your home.
Yep.
Jason, you'd mentioned about first impressions, and it goes with that photos, right? I mean, the first impressions online, but let's just say that you did take good photos, and your realtor knew how to best market those photos online, and we've achieved the goal, and that is to get the buyer from going from online searching to scheduling a private showing, or at the very least coming to an open house. We're getting them from A to B. We're getting them to the home, into the property. Now in a sense, it's the showing first impressions. And, we talk about driveway and sideway cracks. Jason, you'd mentioned about, having the water sitting on top of the fridge, right? If you have a $2,500 fridge and then you have $5 worth of water bottles sitting up there, everybody's looking at the water bottles and not the, this beautiful fridge that you bought maybe here in the last year or so. So the first impressions are just so crucial. And like you said, you only get one shot at first impressions. So driveway and sideway cracks, that could be something that you address, previously before you get on the listing. Dirty dishes, laundry sitting, that's an easy one, right? I mean, if you know that you're going to have a private showing scheduled, just make sure that you have that stuff put away. If you have dirty laundry sitting out, just put the laundry maybe in the washer, or put in the basket and close the closet door. One thing that is for certain is that what doesn't show up in photos will show up during a showing. And I think that's something to where, you mentioned, Jason, and we have vendors down here that offer that same service where they can take a photo and in a sense digitally stage it, or remove the fan. We tend to use it more down here for protection of privacy. A lot of families don't necessarily want to take down their pictures of their children, but they don't really want the pictures of their children broadcasted, on everybody's property search site. So they'll go to this, say, hey, can you pull out the family photo and slap in, a picture of the mountains, and they kind of use that as an editing feature. But if you are have a stain in the floor, photographers aren't taking pictures, of the carpet in the bedroom. They're taking pictures of the closets and the windows and the try to getting an idea of the space. But that stain on the floor the stain on the carpet is going to show up during a private showing. So, you just have to kind of keep that in mind too, where there's first impressions in terms of photos, and then there's first impressions in terms of private showings as well.
Yeah. And the reality is if your home if it's messy and it's cluttered and you got stuff all over the place, that will send a message to the prospective buyers that maybe the home hasn't been as well kept for as what it could have, right? I mean, people think that. They think, it's like you see someone that has a super dirty, messy car. You think, well, they don't take very good care of their car. Same goes for a house. I mean, you gotta look. It's not necessarily fun to sell your house, right? Showings are not convenient. It's definitely stressful. It takes time, but you as a seller, you got to give it your best effort, and so you got to do the deep clean. You got to make the house as presentable as you can. And if you choose not to, it's going to cost you, and I mean, Mike, Marcus, the three of us, we've talked about this for years, little repairs that are needed. Hire somebody to do it. Or if you don't want to do it yourself, have the carpet cleaned if it's dirty. If you don't do those things, it's going to cost you. The buyers are going to, we kind of joke about the rule of three. If you've got $2,500 worth of repairs, or cleaning or whatever, buyer's going to want $7,500 off, and so you'll save and retain more money if you do those things before the showing, before you go live on the market, and it's going to present in its best light. And it's so important if you're going to receive top dollar in the sale of your house.
We're going to kind of talk on maybe a tough topic for sellers out there, and that's if your home's overpriced. Again, these are studies that have been done, and serious buyers will see or search your property in the first 30 days that it's listed. And so it is something with one of those situations where, I mean, we get this as full-time realtors often, and they get the comment, well, we don't want to leave any money on the table. So if your CMA says 500,000, well, just to be certain, we don't want to leave any money on the table. So let's list it at 550, and then we can negotiate down from there. And that's kind of the thought process. And I understand that. I mean, that's a thought process that everybody can relate to, right? Nobody wants to leave money on the table. They want to get as much as they can in terms of what it's worth and what is fair. But there is a lot to risk if you're going to overprice your home.
Yeah, everyone thinks that, well, they can just offer less. Right? The thought is that, well, they can just offer less. They don't have to offer. They can just offer less. The problem is that they don't. They don't just offer less. What they think is that you're unrealistic about the price of your home and that you want too much, and they're just not even going to negotiate with you because they think that you're stuck on this particular number, and they won't offer less. Because it's the Midwest nice too. It's like, it's we don't want to make an offer that offends someone with that makes them think their house is worth nothing. So then you get the Midwest nice coming out too, and it's like, oh, we're not even going to offer them. We'll move on to the next one. And it's hard for sellers to understand that until you're in the moment, right? Until you're in the moment, you do it and you overlist your price, you overprice your house, and you don't get the showings and you don't get the offers. And now it's, price reduction until you get to that point to where you actually get showings and offers and stuff coming in. And a lot of times it's that price point that your agent said you should have started at in the first place.
Yep. And market
Jason, I think
is critical. I mean, statistics. The longer that you're on the market, the less you're going to receive for the sale of your home. And you just can't overprice it. Even when the market is smoking hot like it was, a year ago. We strongly advised our sellers to list your home at the market's value. If you do that and you have one of the best marketing and advertising campaigns out there from your top agent or team, well, you might get multiple offers, and it's going to sell quickly, and it's going to have the best terms for you. But you cannot just, please do not overprice your house.
And the thing is if it's your house, if you want to overprice your house, so be it. It's yours. You can make that decision. Just make sure that you've aligned yourself with a real estate professional, realtor, who can at least have the conversation with you saying, hey, I don't believe that that's a fair price for it. I'm concerned that the buyers are going to sense that. So we should have a price reduction plan in place. Our inventory is super low. If we hit that 30-day mark and we're still on the market, a buyer is going to say, a new buyer who comes to the market is going to say, well, what's wrong with this house? There's got to be something wrong with it. Like foundation problems, maybe some water problems. I mean, it's been on the market for 30 days. There's got to be something wrong with it. So you don't want to have that thought process. You don't want the buyers to have that kind of a thought process in it. If you want to test the market at above price, have a price reduction plan set prior to going to the MLS and stick to it. I think if we went back last year, if there was a client says, I got this feeling like I think it's, I got this really cool garage, and I think there's going to be a buyer who's going to just want to pay so much more than what it's worth because it's so cool. And it's like, okay, if you want to do that, great. We better have 12 showings in the first couple of days. We better have an offer within 5 to 7 days. If we don't, we need to act immediately and start getting it down there. So then we don't get to that 30-day marker and where everybody's like, oh, what's going on with this house? Why is it still for sale?
Yeah. Yeah. And we all, by nature, we think our houses are better than our neighbor's house, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's the exact house, or like you said, you got a cool garage, or like, for example, Overson's neighbor. He's probably thinking, because Overson is his neighbor, he's going to get an extra 10% on the sale of his house.
Which is probably true.
Someone would think that.
Sellers say that though. They're like, the neighbors are awesome. We love them. We're going to miss them so much. You're going to love them. Like, well, you never know. We talk about overpricing and Mike, I think one thing that when we're talking about value and things of that nature, one thing that you need to keep in mind is this changing market that we're in. It's yes, I've been hearing, I haven't seen it personally yet, but I have been hearing that, with these entry level homes that buyers are still putting offers together with, a no appraisal, a provision, things of that nature. But, for the most part, those days have gone, and buyers are going to be contingent upon an appraisal, if they're financing. And so, you need to understand that part too. Even if you can get a dollar amount that's a more than the market value for it. And if that buyer does need financing, which a lot of buyers are using, financing to purchase homes, it still needs to get past appraisal. And that's just terms of the dollar amount. But, furthermore, there's other things like, government backed loan products that have other type of stipulations that need to pass as well.
Yeah. The whole appraisal piece is a whole nother, right? That's a whole nother episode. We could spend literally an entire episode on appraisals and how they differ from loan program to loan program and what they look for and things like that. But yeah, talking in generals, whenever you're financing, that's the other thing. If we look at last year, right? A lot of people were going 30, 40, 50 grand over list price to get a house, right? That's great. But, if the house is listed at 350 and you made an offer at 400 and got it, now, if that house doesn't appraise for 400,000 when it comes to the loan side of things and that appraisal, if it comes in at 375, now there's $25,000 that buyer and seller need to figure out where they're going to come up with. Do they drop the price? Does the buyer make up the difference out of pocket? It's a whole nother kind of a negotiation there that can come up because of the appraisal piece of it. So, so like you said, mentioned, Marcus, it's just another piece there that has to be addressed there, if something like that were to come up.
And Marcus, you're right. The market is always changing. It's changing every, 30 days or sooner. I sent out some stats to my team the other day. So this is March 1st through March 24th in the Twin Cities market. Inspections were waived 36% of the time. So 64% of offers included an inspection contingency. About 6% of sales were pre-MLS or off-market sales. Cash, 21%, conventional, 66%. FHA was 6%, VA 2%. So those were kind of the people are purchasing. Purchase price 101.7%. So that's interesting. Seller contribution towards buyer closing costs. Currently 22% of the time buyers are asking and sellers are accepting some type of concessions. Contingent on the sale of a buyer's home, 10%. Escalation clauses, they were used 6% of the time. And appraisal gaps included on 20% of the finance purchases. So, but it changes. Every 30 days on what's going on with the market. And so make sure, again, that you're hiring a top agent that knows the market, that is an expert in the market that you want to buy in, because you want someone that's on top of the changing real estate world.
Don't forget, if you guys have questions, you can give us a call on our hotline number 612-234-7585, or you can shoot a comment in the comment sections on Facebook. Mike, when we talk about, it's interesting those numbers, Jason, about the kind of those government type loans, FHA, VA, the percents there. And I think, Mike, you talked about, excuse me, a couple episodes ago about how, the structure of that has changed, and it's really trying to encourage, first time home buyers. They really improved their position to get financing. Their rates are attractive, and those individuals are likely looking for, if they have lower credit scores, or they may be looking for that FHA type of loan product, and those mortgage inspections are a little bit tougher on those homes. And entry-level homes, tend to have some issues like peeling paint or cracked window panes. If a seller hasn't been able to address that in the past, it may be a sign that they just simply didn't have the finances to do so. And if you're a buyer who's, in that position to, purchase a home, but you're in need of an FHA loan, maybe because you're low on cash, it puts you in this position where it's like, hey, what do we do then? How can we get this home sold? And there's definitely options. Obviously, items like peeling paint. We can't paint today, right? It's cold. I think paint needs to be above 55-degree weather. But if you're working with a professional like Mike Overson, we're going to be able to come up with some ideas. Maybe that work item can go into escrow and still at least get everybody to the finish line, and then address it when weather permits.
Yeah, we are very good with escrowing for that type of stuff, especially anything that's, weather related. Any exterior repair right now pretty much gets escrowed for up here in the upper Midwest where we're at, because the weather doesn't allow it, right? Weather's not going to allow us to paint outside right now. It's not going to allow us to put a new septic system in. It's not going to allow us to do a bunch of different stuff out there. So, and we know that, and, we're Minnesota owned, and Minnesota based. Our owners are from Minnesota. They live in Minnesota, and our underwriting and our corporate office is here in Minnesota. So we understand how that works. So we're very good and lenient as far as escrowing for stuff like that, which is an advantage, because there are a lot of lenders that won't do that. A lot of lenders that are even in the South, they don't even understand the weather type of restrictions that we have up here when it comes to the house stuff. So.
When we kind of a couple other tough topics to talk about, before we wrap it up here, and by no means, Jason, you'd mentioned this as well. Selling a house is I've never seen anybody be like, oh man, I'm so excited to sell our house that we're living in right now. Maybe they might be excited to sell like a second home or a vacation home, because they're looking to upgrade or do a 1031 exchange or whatever it might be. But, we understand that. I mean, that there can be a lot that goes into it, whether you have children or pets, but we need to make sure that your home is available to show. It can, the online photos are great. We can get the buyers interested in the home, but they still need to see the house. If you have a young family, it can be very tough, right? If you're somebody said, well, I don't want to have dirty dishes in the sink, but I'm a family of 6 and we have dirty dishes in the sink 24/7. So I need to have, 4-hour notice or maybe even a 12-hour notice, 24-hour notice, whatever it might be. If you're working with the right individual, we'll come up and create a plan that fits specifically for you and your family needs, or you and your pets needs, and to make sure that we can get those showings to happen, and then that they're showing very well. A lot of people, even though that you may have the coolest cat in the world, or the friendliest dog that just likes to lay by the fireplace, buyers aren't there to see your pets. And furthermore, some buyers don't like pets. Personally, I'm a dog guy. I have my family and we own a Labrador. So, if somebody has a dog, I'm not going to, it's not going to bother me. It will definitely distract me, especially if it's a friendly dog, because they'll want to get petted and I'll want to pet it because I like dogs. But it's one of those things you just have to think about. Okay, well, if we do have a dog or a cat or a couple of dogs, we don't want to scare our buyers away because maybe, the dog's a little barky or the cat is a little, bipolar and will, bite you in the ankle out of nowhere. And so, it might be easy just to, say, hey, we're going to do showing. Thank you for the showing request. I can get there in 4 hours and pick up the pets and take them with me for a little cruise. So then you guys can take your time and check out the house, because that's what you're buying.
Don't you provide
Totally agree.
dish cleaning services, Marcus, for your sellers, right?
Personally,
Yeah. Don't you go over there and be like, oh, you got dishes? No problem. I'll just swing by there. I'll wash them up quick.
I don't openly advertise that, Mike, but I tell you what, if a listing agent asks me to put some stuff away, and if I can get there a couple minutes before my clients get there, you bet I will do that. So
I figured you would.
But it's interesting, right? I mean, it's we all have pets. I think the United States of America is, one of the top countries in the world that have a number of pets per capita. We are a pet friendly country. And so, yes, I mean, it's likely you're not going to, scare anybody away but you definitely don't want to reduce your buyer pool, because you're convinced that everybody loves your pet as much as you do.
Right.
Probably the last thing I want to talk about, guys, here today. And again, to manage a young family or pets, it's a tricky thing to do. To make sure that you're listing it correctly. If you have confidence in your realtor, you're going to be able to come out of the gates at the right number, to where you're getting showings, you're getting offers, hopefully multiple offers. We're seeing that continuing to increase here. Here in 2023 in the spring. One thing that can be kind of tricky is, again, this kind of falls in the first impression category. First impression of a house, but people get first impressions of a neighborhood too. Or more specifically, your neighbor. Jason, you kind of joked about if Mike Overson's your neighbor, maybe that's going to increase 10% of your property value. But not all of us have super awesome neighbors who keep their house, in super, great condition, interior, exterior. And so that could be something that erecting a fence, might be a good option, just to kind of give you some privacy between you and your neighbor, so then you don't have to see the, the Halloween leave bags that are still, piled up on the side of their house. That could be one of those fall in that rule of three category, right? Might, just put up a little section of privacy fence, might cost you a couple grand, but at least when the people come to see your house, they're not looking over and seeing the neighbors and saying, "Oh, that doesn't really look that very nice." And it can be even a tough conversation to where going to the neighbor and if you have a good relationship with them, just let them know, like, hey, I'm selling my house here in a couple weeks. Would you be opposed if I reached out to a couple handymen and they came by and swung by and picked up those landscaping bags, before we go to the market? Because I think we're gonna have a lot of activity in the first week or two. And if and I'll cover the cost. I don't think anybody's going to pass on maybe a free, yard cleanup service. So, those are some ideas that you can do to, help the neighbors' homes look a little bit better too.
What's your feelings on the
Who
neighbor
was the
having?
cousin from?
What movie?
You guys remember who was the cousin? Christmas Vacation. Who was the cousin?
Cousin Eddie.
Cousin Eddie.
Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, if you got cousin Eddie in the store, I mean, maybe send him to the park for a bit.
Yeah,
I'm picturing like Smokey and the Bandit, right? Pontiac Firebird.
Yeah.
The neighbor found one, and it's a project car, so he's got it sitting on the side slab on there because he tinkers with it and tries to fix it up, when he has time to do it. Like, do you leave that out there? Like, I don't know. I think that would be kind of cool to have a Smokey and the Bandit Firebird sitting there next door to me, but some people might not,
Yeah. I mean, I think that I think it's just overall trying to increase your value that you have when you have that first impressions, and obviously, to your point exactly, Mike. I mean, everybody's a little different, and I think we can all agree that there's times where you just left a couple things out on middle of the winter and kind of forgot on the side of the house because you were there moving some snow, playing with the kids or whatever, or maybe there's an old doggy swim pool that's sitting out there that you kind of forgot about, and now that the snow is starting to melt, is starting to show, but it can be valuable just to kind of go over to your neighbors and just let everybody know, like, hey, I'm selling my house here in the next couple of weeks. We're going to have some additional traffic coming in the cul-de-sac or down our street because people will be coming to see the house, and it's kind of a courtesy, and it can go a long way.
Yep.
Well, guys, now that our show comes to an end today, we want to thank you all for taking your time to tune in live and support US. Always, you can find today's show and all of our past shows on our website, ushometalk.com, or wherever you find your podcast too. I'm Marcus Walgrave. I got Jason Walgrave and Mike Overson here, and we hope you guys have a blessed week.
Thanks, everybody.
See you guys.